The weight loss world looks completely different than it did 5 years ago. GLP-1 medications went from a niche diabetes drug to a cultural phenomenon. Mainstream health finally became a mainstream conversation, and strength training for women has finally gotten the attention it deserves for fat loss, metabolic health, and overall longevity. The best part is some of the fitness trends that have been happening for decades, like low-calorie diets and restrictive fitness challenges, are finally dying out, and for good reason. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 biggest shifts that we're seeing in both weight loss and body transformation, where everything's heading next, what each one means, which one works best, and how you can benefit from the one that's actually going to help you transform versus just following something because it's trending. Most people make decisions surrounding their health, weight loss, and body transformation based on what's trending, not actually what the research shows or what the long-term repercussions are. Understanding what works long-term versus just blindly following what's trending can make the difference between you transforming and changing your body and health to being able to actually maintain it long-term as well. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Perry. I'm a weight loss and body transformation coach and trainer with over 10 years experience. I've watched this industry evolve over the past decade immensely, and I definitely have opinions and thoughts about the strategies, protocols, and programs that actually work versus the ones that are just trendy and are probably going to leave people in an even worse situation long term. Today, I'm going to cover the 5 trends, what they are, what the data and the real world outcomes show, and my honest take on each. Trend number 1, the GLP-1 wave is peaking and the aftermath is gonna be significant. Taking GLP-1s for weight loss and fat loss has been trending, and some would say it has been for the past 2 to 3 years. And while GLP-1s can be effective for weight loss, the long-term repercussions and what the body's left with post-medication is being called to the forefront of conversations everywhere, and for good reason. Here's what we're seeing right now. Widespread adoption of GLP-1s has produced some impressive weight loss results for a good portion of the population taking them. But the downstream effects and the aftermath after taking this medication have become even more prevalent as conversations continue buzzing. We're talking significant muscle loss, bone density loss, rapid regain of the weight after stopping this medication, and a large group of people who are now needing to rebuild their health and their metabolism after discontinuing the use of the medication. Insurance coverage is also becoming harder to get, making long-term use of this medication just financially unstable for many people. And we all know that the majority of people who stop taking this medication tend to regain that weight within the first year or two. Even more important, the medical community is finally starting to question how great this GLP-1 medication for weight loss is when we consider metabolic health and muscle that may be downregulated and lost in the process of losing weight. Here is where this trend is heading. A significant amount of people who have stopped taking GLP-1s are now needing help rebuilding the muscle they lost and upregulating their metabolism that's slow during the process. There's also growing awareness and acknowledgement that taking a medication without actual lifestyle shifts and changes in habits is really just temporary weight loss, not something you can actually maintain long term. There's also a growing demand for coaches and trainers who have the knowledge, the skill sets, and the experience, as well as a proven track record for rebuilding the metabolism post-medication and also rebuilding the muscle post-medication. And luckily, that's what I can do. Lastly, there's a big shift in conversation from overall weight loss into improving and changing body composition overall. It's not always about the number on the scale, and the conversations are now changing more to body composition overall, meaning how can we increase lean muscle mass while also decreasing body fat percentage. Here's what this means for you right now. If you're considering a GLP-1, the muscle loss is real and countermeasures have to be taken in order to preserve and hopefully grow the muscle while on this medication. This includes adequate calories, higher protein intake, and strength training to maintain and grow muscle mass while on the GLP-1. If you've been on a GLP-1 medication and are looking to come off of it, metabolic function and repairing muscle loss is going to be the first and most critical step to getting off this medication. Natural body transformation approaches, programs, and strategies are going to be in higher demand, and they are already, because focusing on muscle growth and metabolic function is becoming more and more at the forefront of conversations as it relates to weight loss, fat loss, and body transformation. GLP-1s aren't going anywhere, but the conversation is starting to shift around it being a miracle solution to now just one tool of many. The people who understand the full picture are outsmarting the people who are just following the trends. The GLP-1 wave is the biggest story in weight loss right now. The second trend is one that has been building for years and is finally hitting mainstream media for good reason. Trend 2, metabolic health is becoming the primary lens for weight loss. For decades, weight loss has been positioned entirely based off of a calorie equation. Calories in, calories out, eat less, move more, you'll lose weight. Thankfully, that mindset and approach is being replaced with something that actually matters more for not only helping you transform your body in health, but also being able to maintain things long term. And that's that metabolic health is the foundation that everything else sits on. Here's what the shift looks like in practice. More and more people now know that two people can eat the same calories and get completely different results. And this is typically based off of a few things like metabolic health, hormone balance, gut function, and how your body is using fuel for energy. There's also growing awareness in things like insulin sensitivity, nervous system regulation, cortisol elevation, and thyroid function, all which can impact weight loss even if two people are eating the same amount of calories. People are also caring more and more about overall body composition, which is body fat as it relates to lean muscle mass. A lot of people are simply just caring less about the number on the scale and instead are focusing more and more on body composition and how they look and feel. And lastly, we're seeing a rise in tools and also complementary services like naturopathic and functional medicine, glucose monitors, and data tracking devices like watches and rings to help us monitor the body as we lose weight, shed fat, and tone. This is going to not only help you get better results, but it's also going to help you feel better, have more energy, and be able to prevent diseases later on in life. Here's why this matters. It validates and supports the approach that has always driven the best results, and that's focus on building the metabolism first, build muscle, and then focus on fat loss. It also shifts the question from how do I eat less to how do I help my body process and use food better and fuel my body to get the results that I want. It also creates a framework and widespread understanding that both metabolism and muscle is key for not only losing weight, shedding fat, and toning, but also being able to maintain your results long term without having to try so hard. Here's what to watch out for. More mainstream health content that focuses on metabolic health, not just weight loss. Growing availability of tools and resources to help people better understand their metabolisms. A gradual shift away from calorie-based programs and advice, and instead leaning more towards personalized metabolic programming. The diet industry told you that weight loss was a simple equation for like the past 50 years, but we now know that it's way more layered and nuanced than that. And now, luckily, mainstream media has finally caught on. Metabolic health finally becoming the bigger focus is trend number 2. Trend number 3 is one that's particularly relevant, especially for people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Trend number 3. Strength training for women is finally getting the recognition and the attention it deserves. For the past few decades, the fitness industry has been heavily marketing cardio for women. There's aerobics classes, boot camps, dance-based workouts, and running. And then there's the studio model of bar, Pilates, spinning, and yoga sculpt. Strength training was always treated as something that women could add on, but it's never been the primary recommendation until recently. And finally, it's changing rapidly and for good reason. Here's what's driving the shift. A growing amount of research and data shows that strength training is the #1 form of exercise for building muscle, boosting your metabolism, and for overall longevity and health. Not to mention, it helps to create that toning and definition underneath when you do go into fat loss mode. People are now more aware of sarcopenia, which is when you naturally start to lose muscle mass after the age of 35. And if you're not actively working to maintain or grow your muscle mass, you're losing muscle, which means body fat is naturally going to increase and your metabolism will naturally decrease as you lose muscle. The rise in social media has also allowed us to see fitness influencers, online coaches, and online trainers showing that strength training is what helps you grow muscle to produce a leaner, tighter, more toned physique. And this is also why folks are moving to strength training as their primary source of exercise, so they can recreate the muscle underneath that builds that toning and definition later on. There's also more awareness and knowledge in general that toned, tight, lean physique, where you can see definition, comes from building muscle first, then shedding body fat on top. Here's what's still holding some women back. The fear that lifting weights will make you bulky, which is simply not true. In fact, in order to look bulky, you have to be training really hard for a long period of time and pairing it with a calorie surplus, meaning you're eating a lot of food and training really hard. And to be honest, a lot of women just aren't that dedicated enough to even get even close to bulky. There's also a shortage of coaches and trainers that have both a proven system and protocols and programs in place for proper progressive overload, where you also pair nutrition with it. And that means adequate protein, calories, and carbs that go well beyond just eating 1 gram of protein per body weight. And lastly, the fitness culture is still heavily promoting cardio-based formats. We're talking boot camps, running, spinning, and yoga sculpt. This means boot camps, running, spinning, all being marketed towards getting a leaner, tighter body, when we know that that's simply just not the case. Here's where this trend is heading. Strength training will increasingly become the standard and the primary source of exercise as a recommendation for most women, but especially over the age of 35, where sarcopenia can slip in. That being said, programs designed specifically for women in the 30s, 40s, and 50s range are going to focus heavily on strength training to counter this effect. The studio cardio model will also continue to face pressure to move to more strength-based classes as women catch on that those are just not changing their bodies like they want it to. The fitness industry has spent decades trying to convince women that they can change their physique, lose weight, shed fat, and tone by taking cardio-heavy fitness classes. And now we know that that's just simply not the best strategy forward. The shift from cardio classes back to strength training is not a trend either. It's based on evidence and real-world data that shows that this strategy works. I built my entire coaching model solely after strength training before it ever became trendy or a mainstream conversation. And the results I've seen based on hundreds of client transformations support the evidence that show that more muscle mass means a higher metabolic rate and more toning, tightening, and strengthening overall. Strength training's moment is here to stay, and I'm so happy to report that it is not going anywhere. The fourth trend is about how weight loss and body transformation coaching is shifting. If you want to stay ahead of the trends and learn what's actually working versus what's just trending, hit subscribe. I post videos every single week walking you through body transformation and weight loss tactics to help you get the best results. Now let's keep going. Trend 4, Data-driven body transformation is replacing guesswork. One of the most significant changes in both the weight loss and body transformation space is moving to real-time data where we track, measure, and adjust programs based on how the body is responding in real time, compared to the cookie-cutter, generic, and static programs that's just a set it and forget it and hope for the best. Here's what data-driven transformation looks like. Daily weigh-ins interpreted as data where we can actually monitor what's happening with the body rather than seeing it as a daily verdict or a death sentence. Weekly progress photos that are assessed alongside biofeedback and the scale rather than just looking at the number. Macro and calorie tracking as an educational tool, especially during active transformation. Training programs where clients track every weight and every rep, and video review to assess form, tempo, intensity, and mind-to-muscle connection. This ensures that clients are getting the best results possible versus just going through the motion and wasting that hour during their workout. Lastly, and most importantly, weekly plan adjustments based on how the body is responding and where the coach wants to take it next. Here's why this format and strategy produces better results. It removes the guesswork from both the client and the coach. It catches problems early before they compound or before a client plateaus or regresses. It accelerates results because the plan is consistently tweaked and optimized every single week based on how the body is responding rather than a cookie cutter, static, or generic plan that it's a set it and forget it. It also educates the client about their body, which improves overall independence and autonomy to be able to maintain their results long term. In short, this basically means they get to know their body, the scale, how they react to certain foods and movements. And instead of fishing for a client, they learn how to fish themselves. Here are some of the tools that are making this format way more accessible. Calorie and macro tracking apps that make nutritional awareness way easier than ever before. Coaching platforms that allow clients to log workouts, submit videos for review, and chat with their coach in real time. And lastly, wearable devices like rings and watches that track your sleep, your stress, your step count goal, and other factors like heart rate. The best body transformations are not necessarily the ones that are highly correlated with the most popular program or the coach with the most followers. It's the coach who collects the most accurate amount of data from that specific client and makes real-time adjustments every single week based on that biofeedback to keep you progressing. Most of us know that generic programs are going to produce generic results. And now the data shows that having more data and using it and tweaking the program throughout leads to bigger and better results that you could actually maintain for life. A custom 360 program like we use in Body Transformation Blueprint is always going to yield better results than something that thousands of people are doing. The fifth and final trend is one that I'm personally most excited about. Trend 5, maintenance is finally being treated as a phase, not as a finish line. For most of the history in the diet industry, the goal has always been to lose weight. But what happens after that was always positioned as, not my problem, it's yours now. This sounds like you losing some weight, being given some generic advice about how to maintain it, and then you're off on your own trying to maintain the results that you've built with little or no support at all. The result has been predictable. Most people tend to regain the weight after they've lost it without proper support in place. Thankfully, that model is now being replaced with something that's very much needed in the weight loss and fat loss space, and that is a maintenance program. Here's what this new model looks like. A guided and structured process to help a client lose weight, shed fat, and tone and tighten, but also protocols on the back end to help reverse the client back up to maintenance calories and a maintenance level of activity. This is a critical phase in the transformation process, not an afterthought. And it's definitely not a nice to have either. It is a must. This looks like an ongoing support model with strategies and proper check-ins in place to help the client maintain their results long term with progressively less structure and helping them build confidence to do things on their own. This also means we need proper education, strategies, and approaches for that maintenance phase beyond the active transformation, which is a totally different skill set that they need to practice in order to maintain their results long term. Here's why this all matters for long-term outcome. The metabolic reset phase before fat loss and the reverse diet after fat loss are two critical pieces if you want your weight loss and fat loss results to stick and for a client to be able to maintain them long term. People who go through a proper reset and rebuild phase after fat loss is over, they're able to maintain their results long term while also eating more food and doing less activity overall. Additionally, the ongoing community and accountability helps clients be successful on the back end as they exercise that muscle called confidence and just continuing to do the things they need to do to keep their results and maintain a healthy body. The goal is to shift from losing weight to actually being able to maintain your results in a healthy body that's energized, strong, and grounded throughout the rest of your life. Here's what I built in response to this trend, but more importantly, based on my own experience and where I felt like there was holes in the coaching industry. The Alumni Club. This is my maintenance program where clients move into after their active transformation is over, so we can help them maintain their results long term with less structure, more autonomy, more independence as they exercise the confidence to continue things on their own. It's a program where we provide lighter support, lighter accountability, but still give them the tools, the structures, and the strategy they need to be successful. It also reflects the understanding that the fat loss phase is just that, losing body fat. To maintain your results requires a new strategy, new protocols, and a different approach that would be helpful if a client had education and support around that. Losing weight is not the finish line. In fact, something I always say is maintenance is the real flex, and that requires a different type of support, education, and strategy. The people who keep the results are the ones that treat maintenance with just as much intentionality and awareness as their transformation phase. The people who regain the weight are the ones who typically just fall back into old habits. The clients I'm most proud of are not the ones who have lost the most weight. They're the ones that have lost 10 to 20 to 30 or more pounds and are able to maintain their results 1 to 2 to even 3 years later because they built the healthy habits and the awareness surrounding their nutrition and exercise that's needed to not only maintain their results, but to live a healthier life in general. And that's what a complete transformation looks like. What this all means practically right now. Looking at these 5 trends together, the direction and where things are heading is clear. Here's what's staying. Metabolic health as the foundation to any weight loss and fat loss attempt. Strength training as the primary source of exercise to lose weight, shed fat, tone, and tighten. Custom 360-degree programs that are data-driven and tweaked and optimized every week based on biofeedback and data, in comparison to cookie cutter or static plans that never change. Maintenance treated as a phase that lasts forever with its own strategies, protocols, and regimens to help clients maintain results. And lastly, natural approaches that boost the metabolism and build muscle instead of just being an appetite suppressant or being reliant on a medication. Here are the approaches that are fading. Generic low-calorie diets that do nothing for muscle growth. Cardio-based fitness classes that are being marketed as a body transformation program. Short-term challenges or 30-day nutrition plans without any structure, guidance, or support after. Medication-only approaches without the proper lifestyle habits and changes that are required for maintaining results. Here are some questions that are worth asking yourself. 1, is my current approach aligned with the evidence and what the outcomes are showing? 2, am I building the metabolic and the muscular foundation that makes everything more sustainable? 3, do I have a plan that positions maintenance as just as important and intentional as a fat loss phase? The weight loss industry is in a significant correction and switch from what we've been taught over the past 2 to 3 decades. And the approaches that have been dominating the space are now being challenged with more scientific evidence that supports a different approach. And this is all coming from people who are sick of fad diets and fitness challenges that are falling flat without actually producing the results that they want to see and ones that they can maintain long term. Finally, the direction is clear. Metabolic health matters. Muscle is the driver for seeing more toning and definition and a tighter, leaner body overall. Data has to drive the strategy, and maintenance has to be in play, not just an afterthought. This is where the real results have always been. And finally, mainstream media and conversations are catching up to it. If you want to make sure you're not making the mistakes that most people are still making, I made a video breaking down the 9 biggest mistakes that I see people make most before they start working with me. That's linked right here on your screen. Click it to watch it next.